you're complete at that moment. Whatever comes after that, it doesn't matter. After 5 minutes, very possible your head is filled again with questions or filled with thoughts. When you're saying awareness, you're not saying no thoughts, no question, but keep sitting and watch the magic that happens. Not every sitting meditation, but very often the mind by itself effortlessly is reabsorbed, is dissolved. The questions, the strong questions you might have, you're with them and you're sincere, but you're still. And now you move from movement of consciousness to the field of consciousness pure.
Welcome to a Curious Yogi podcast. I'm your host, Bobby, joined by living masters and awakening friends. I'm so delighted you're here. Now let's get curious. So, welcome, Chaytan Atma, to a Curious Yogi podcast.
Beautiful title.
Yeah.
I'm very curious.
Yeah. I think, because that's what inspired me to start this podcast is that beautiful Sanskrit word, Jigyasu.
Yes.
The one who is inquiring. And that's how I feel I am. And it's why I'm so inspired to meet with such wise and inspiring and beautiful people like yourself, so that we can dig into what is a curious yogi and what is it that we are seeking. And that's really like what this whole little podcast project is about.
Beautiful, beautiful. You're a very inspired being, therefore I can right away feel the inspiration that you create. And when you say curious yogi, just this morning, I got a little clip of the daughter of my niece, the child who still doesn't talk, who's holding a book and is talking and reading to herself. And I'm listening to her. There's no words that is in our world yet. She's only making sound, but the curiosity that's already there in the child, and it's either nourished, and by beautiful moments like you create for your friends, the inspiration can be fed. A young child that will receive the feeding to her curiosity will receive great benefit.
Yeah, but it's so interesting also because, we have that inspiration and that curiosity when we are young, and then slowly, life and the layers come on. But it's so rare and special for the one that still keeps that spark of actually what is there beneath it.
Yeah.
And that's, definitely the inspiration for meeting today is to just be with somebody like you who has been on this path of seeking, or we can say knowing, and being a meditator for your whole life.
Yes.
So I've known you for many years, but I don't actually know your story of, how you came to study and live the teachings of meditation and just devote so much of your life to being in India and just this beautiful journey you've been on. So maybe you can just take us back a little bit to were you always this curious seeker, desiring freedom, or where did it begin?
Yes, I guess quite early on. And when I think of my story, I think it's a rather simple one, but it's okay. Simple is beautiful. I always loved, the words came later, but that much I knew. I loved life and I loved people. And so even as a young person, I was always interested in meeting people and being with human beings. And to whatever extent I understood human beings, I wanted to understand them more. So when I did my after secondary,
Your undergrad or your
undergrad.
university?
No, not even
College?
prior to college in the province I come from is secondary school up to grade 12 as if.
High school?
High school, thank you. High school, there was an interest, as I said, to start exploring life. And then when I reached college, I thought I was going to do my studies in psychology. Started the year, and then I had met friends that had begun their practice of Hatha Yoga and begun to meditate. And close friends, and they said, you must come to this beautiful place that provides an atmosphere for meditation. I thought maybe not quite ready. Let me start my college, start my studies in psychology, and I'm thinking they are speaking about what a human being is, but I am not very impressed. I was not impressed by the teachers. I thought, oh my God, I'm sure there's beautiful, wonderful psychology teachers out there. I didn't bump into them in my college. I therefore thought, okay, if I want to understand the human nature, first and foremost, before I study human beings on the outside, I should have some kind of study of my own person. And so I got invited to this meditation center, and that's why I say the story is quite simple. It was a Sunday night. I closed my eyes to meditate, knew nothing about meditation except had heard about TM and appreciated that there was many human beings taking 15 minutes a day to create peace, to create a stillness in their life. I myself had not begun to practice. I go that evening, closed my eyes, and thought, without really knowing, but thought, oh my God. I have reached home. And I just remember I had my eyes closed, tears just gently rolling down and then becoming very shy. People around me are going to think I'm sad, whereas I'm crying because this is so beautiful. And went back home that evening. I was a young person. By Monday morning, I had stopped smoking cigarettes, stopped smoking dope, stopped alcohol, and became vegetarian overnight.
Wow.
So to me, only later do I understand what made that moment a moment of recognition.
Mm.
It doesn't make sense that overnight you change like that. But for me, it was like, oh, of course.
Mm.
It was as clear as when the sun rises in the morning. And from that Sunday, I was 17 then. I am 67 now, exactly 50 years. I have never missed one day of meditation, which meant the joy of being able, at one point in your day or many times in your day, taking the time to close your eyes and touch something that is very familiar to you.
Wow, I can definitely relate to that feeling of sometimes like the joy, or like not even joy is the wrong word, but the space in meditation of just a space that actually it's so hard to access with eyes open when one is so involved in the world. And I think definitely 50 years of meditation is an inspiration for all of us young listeners to keep going, because I see you as someone in my life who I can look up to as like what is the result of a lifetime of meditation and smoking free, dope free, alcohol free, and just living that yogic life. Because I think so often now I see like looking ahead, people that are of an older age, that are unwell and unhappy. And you see that it's a lot in the world. And it seems like this path is a path that sort of like guarantees a kind of inner
Yes,
peacefulness.
that's why they call it yog, like the very path of yog, pronounced often yoga. We like to pronounce it as yog. A true state of balance, and balance on all levels. So from the little child at the beginning, who without knowing is living a pretty natural, peaceful state. You beautifully described the coverings that then comes in the life of a young person, a youth, till adulthood, until at one point there's something in you. So I'll just add to the story of the 17-year-old. I had a sense, without knowing what that sense was, there has to be in everything that I knew, being young, the knowledge of life is in the beginning stage. Your knowledge is of a certain volume. You've got so much more to learn. But in everything I had learned up to then, I thought there has to be, and I didn't know what I was asking, there has to be a possibility in one's life to find something that doesn't change when you're observing life, people, events, situation, and it changes. And now when I reflect on the life of young people, it feels like there was a certain speed in my generation. Now the
Mm.
speed is fast. So the same perception, I'm sure, in beautiful young people, you watch change, 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 change. There's something in you that knows something else. So you move with the change and it doesn't quite feel right. And I still remember I went to sit in a wood one day and I thought, there has to be a way. There has to be a way. And I didn't know about meditation. I discovered that after. But that Jigyasu, which means the part in you that could sit and begin to question himself or herself to say, is there something that doesn't change? When I began to meditate, I thought, oh my God, this is it.
Mm.
There is something when you meditate. In simple words, you touch the unchanging.
Mm.
I was so excited. There is something that's
Mm.
unchanging, which doesn't mean you stop all, of course, the changing movement in your active, busy, youthful life, but you have at least stopped to think. I had a great professor, not in psychology, in philosophy,
Mhm.
and I still remember the moment she walked in. She was very excited, very inspired that day. She began to read something that was thought-provoking, and I was listening to her. I thought, at least someone is talking something a little bit deeper. And she paused and she said, is there anyone in the room that is thinking? And there was a dead silence. And I thought, yes, yes, I'm thinking. But the whole rest of the room was quiet. And to be able to spark the inquiry, you
Mm.
use the term Jigyasu. Jigyasa is the inquiry itself, Jigyasu, the one who inquires. And then not just that you ask only the question, but that you find a way to receive your answers.
Mm.
The field of yoga and balance is a powerful beginning and great exploration of finding
Mm.
all your answers that can come throughout your life.
When you talk about the unchanging space, like that we tap into when we meditate, like, can we call that unchanging space our awareness or our consciousness? Like when we try to like put the mind into like what is that space that I'm reaching in meditation? Like what is it? I know we experience it, that's why it's an experiential practice. But if we were to speak about it, like how do we speak about that
Well,
space?
you use the word awareness, perfect. You use the word consciousness, to which I would add the beautiful Sanskrit word shuddha, pure consciousness. Because if we speak of consciousness alone, to the human mind, what it will understand is it's some movement of some kind. And in meditation, words that can be given to your experiences, you really are in the field of pure consciousness, in which then, I won't say before, during, or after, any moment, a movement in your stillness can take place. When movement in consciousness pure takes place, that we can call just consciousness.
Mm.
So when you say awareness, for me, it's pure consciousness. It's a word that you can give to, because we do want to speak about it. It's an actual state that is lived. It's an actual state where finally you can use unchanging. Finally, you can let the questioner, which is you, come to rest. In that state of awareness, you would and could have asked your questions. But now in your stillness, you start to see, I asked, I received. I asked this, I received the answer. almost like waves. And so the waves, very important. All questions should always be asked. And at one point, the very questioning leads the attention, which is still consciousness, to its field of pure consciousness. So now your questions and your answers start to somewhat dissolve. Then we can call it like a deeper state of meditation. All of it is meditation as soon as you say awareness. What I loved is my teacher said, meditation is as simple, and I am sure you have spoken to your friends, that as soon as you close your eyes, his words were, that is it. How delightful is that? You're complete at that moment. Whatever comes after that, it doesn't matter. After 5 minutes, very possible your head is filled again with questions or filled with thoughts. When you're saying awareness, you're not saying no thoughts, no question, but keep sitting and watch the magic that happens. Not every sitting meditation, but very often the mind by itself effortlessly is reabsorbed, is dissolved. The questions, the strong questions you might have, you're with them and you're sincere, but you're still. And now you move from movement of consciousness to the field of consciousness pure.
When I'm hearing you speak, it's making me think of Yog Chit Vritti Nirodha, because I feel like what is the point of yog is to be in that space of absorption, we can say. But like when we hear the teachings from the scriptures, there's this idea or sense that we should as if stop those waves and those questions and those states. But I know that our teacher, he gave a revelation from that space. Can you speak about the difference in like, the idea that when we close our eyes that we should stop thinking, because that is impossible, but what is the, I would say, like more freeing, more simple way of understanding like Yog Chit Vritti Nirodha? Like, what does that mean?
Yes. Often misunderstood, as you beautifully describe, as if the thoughts should stop. So now the thinker, the inquirer, gives himself the role, I will stop my thinking. Such a deceptive way of understanding meditation. The beauty and power of meditation is it will do the work by itself. It really doesn't need you. It doesn't need you as a doer claiming, I will now close my eyes and meditate and will do the work or the practice of meditation. It's much more, what I love to think is, we are always reminded, don't qualify your meditations, but we always do. My best meditations are when I'm sitting there and I'm not there. I'm not in the way. I'm not interfering. I'm not expecting. I have no expectation of any kind of what should happen. So when, again, Yoga Chit Vritti Nirodha, so Nirodha is understood as stoppage. We have to stop defining stop that way.
Yeah.
Nirodha is not stopping. It's an actual state. So when I said, you said, give words to the meditative state. You said awareness. Perfect. One should meditate a lot on what awareness means for them. I added pure consciousness. Again, one should meditate and how does that get absorbed in my own space? Nirodha is that awareness. So there's nothing that we have to do with the awareness. Yog, the beginning of the verse, is already telling us the yog state exists and it's you. Nirodha exists and it's you. Yoga Chit, you have a mind that's going to always think, let it think. I never expect my hands not to move. A hand moves, the feet walk, the mind thinks. But yes, because it is curious yogis, why should a curious yogi not try to understand? So, what's the word yog doing beside chit?
Mm.
The mind will never be the instrument that is in a state of balance.
Mm.
Mind is mind and it has its function. The balance, the yog, is the Nirodha. Yog is the awareness. Yog is chit. Vritti, well, put chit and vritti together. They go well.
Mm-hmm.
All movements, which are vrittis, go with the thinking mind. It's as if we have to hold the verse.
Mm.
Never saw it that way, except at this moment. Vritti, chit and vritti, and then yo-
Yeah,
yog
they
and Nirodha,
continue. Yeah.
they can totally envelop and let the chit by itself. Of course, I am sure with your friends, you have possibly used the mantra when you need. You can sing a sutra. You can chant a kirtan. You can sit and reflect, and through the gyan, direct your thinking. We have all the means. We recognize them as the means, but the state itself unfolds by itself.
Mm. Then I'm thinking also, like, because now we're getting into this, I love it. When we think of that space of non-doership, like meditation is not what we do, it happens by itself. What we do is close the eyes and just lay back, right? Not lay back, but sort
Yes,
of like relax into that space. But what is it in the same way that the mind and the vrittis go together in motion and action, because we're human bodies, we're human beings that are alive and moving, and action is spontaneously happening. But how do we move through life in that space of non-doership, whether it's with eyes closed or with eyes open? Because it also feels like the human, like I remember hearing one quote somewhere from somebody said, we're not human doers, we're human beings, but actually it feels like we're human doers. Like action is always happening. So how to have that non-doer space with eyes closed, but like, is it possible to open the eyes and remain in that space?
absolutely, absolutely. The maturity of one's practice has to bring you to that state. Otherwise, there would be uh, a somewhat experience of pain that it has to be divided. Me meditating, quiet, still, peaceful, in the state that I love, and me with my eyes open, active, I start to suffer. I'm agitated and I'm worried and I'm unhappy. There would be too much of a gap. So your very meditation practice as has to be as if pulled into and continued, and it will become a one continual. I would then at that stage speak of a meditation state or meditative state that in a sense includes the meditation practice, but now we're speaking about a state. So eyes open, eyes close. And now I'm just going to add, which doesn't take away the moments that you do need to sit quiet with your eyes closed.
Mm.
That's another mistake, something that sometimes that is made, as if my meditation can always be when my eyes are open.
Mm-hmm.
That has its place, but there is something very beneficial, as we know, to close our eyes and go into the depth of the meditation state. The non-doership part is a great study. By nature, the very nature with a big N and the nature of the human nature is one that will keep the human being busy because it's life. The instrument is made to move, to exist, to survive, to live, all of which includes, by necessity, a doing.
Mm.
I have to think of lifting my arm for the action of doing that my arm now has moved. Every single action comes with a sense of doing. The yogi has the advantage. Let me study. Again, we come back to your Jigyasu. Yes, as a human being, I have to act, I have to do, from the morning till evening, from the morning when the head moves from the pillow to at night when the head goes back to the pillow, if just before you fall asleep you think, how much doing has taken place, every human being would have a lot to say of all actions, all events, all people, all activity that the physical body and mental body had to go through. Again, I'll add, this is in the field of doing. Now, the yogi has a possibility of, let me examine what the doing is, examine what place it has in my life. Now, can I start to act in a different way? Now, unless someone meditates, I would say it would almost be impossible to move from being the subject that is acting to having some perspective, some stillness that makes me start to recognize something else. Action is taking place, but who is behind the action? What life force is giving the power for the body to act, for the mind to think? Just a little example. Yesterday I had to go to the eye doctor to examine my eye. EYI. The yogi examines his eye.
Yeah.
So my eye is in the machine, and now they're putting a very bright blue light, and the doctor says, okay, now don't blink. So that's easy. I can be the doer of not blinking. So then I realize, wow, the light is hitting very strong. So I tell myself, no, just keep the eye open, and I'm not blinking. So you can control to a certain extent your actions, the movements, but then at one point, the eye blinks. And when the eye blinked, I thought of non-doership. I thought, I am not the one at this point now, the physical body, it's an example with the physical body. It has the deeper meaning. The physical body says, doesn't matter how much you're going to tell me, don't blink. I blink, body blinks. So in relation to the truth of non-doership that you have to touch in you, the body is going to act. It's nature. But there's going to be a possibility in you to start watching the source of all action. As soon as you watch the one who is acting, which we're calling doer, that watcher, another word is non-doer.
So beautiful. And I'm thinking, does that power of watchfulness, or like even like you said, with the practice, and I would even maybe say like the maturity, like the more we practice, like the other day, Swamiji said, like you become what you practice. So if our whole life we are practicing, I'm Bobby, I'm doing this, the kind of false sense that I'm in control develops. Like, and then something happens, like I try to hold my breath or hold my eyes open, and then naturally, by the impulse of life moving through me and the body, that action happens. And we had like that moment, like you said, where you realized actually the non-doer, like the space behind the action. What is that? And that's where like then we start to question deeper. Is it just a matter of like maturing on our sadhana, or like dedicating or committing to our inquiry, to our meditation practice, to always making the effort of being in that watcher space that unfolds that within ourselves? Or is it unique to everybody? Like for some, that awareness just pops open and you have that, or is it that unique to each one?
Your description was beautiful and perfect, and I'll just relate a little story with exactly that question that I got a chance to ask my teacher. So it was a morning. I walked. In those days, there was, not many cars on the road, and I could sit near a cliff looking out at the valley. I thought it was very early in the morning. Just sit here and meditate. Closed my eyes, meditated. And then I thought, I wonder if one day I just open my eyes and that's it. Self-realization. No more inquiry as if job accomplished.
Yeah, check.
Yogi has now realized the self. Or will I keep having, and it was my beginning years, maybe in the first 10 years or so, will I have to keep having a life of dedicated work to let that unfold? So I sat there and I thought, and that morning with a little bit of humor, I thought, oh no, I'm asking myself that question. Suddenly I didn't want to open my eyes. I thought, what if it's it? And suddenly I thought, like, what will that mean? This is it, right? I opened my eyes and I thought, no, still here, still me. I got to come back to the ashram and ask the question directly. Swamiji, is it with all the years of effort and practice, as you beautifully just described, or for some, does it happen just spontaneously? His answer was adorable. For some, it happens just spontaneously. Yes, you could have sat on a cliff, opened your eyes, and that would have been it. It, it happens to them spontaneously after many years of practice.
That's funny.
So it included both.
Yeah. So, but then that's the inspiration to keep practicing, to
That's right.
keep meditating, that it's not something that, and even like when you look at the realized being as the ideal for the yogi or for the seeker, the realized being is meditating always. Like it's not like the realized being checks, oh, I'm realized now, as if meditation doesn't happen. But like actually the practice continues.
Yes.
I guess maybe I'm not realized, so I can't say, but like for
But you met a realized being,
I
you saw how he lived.
he was always, you could say, meditating or always just existing in that space in which freedom alone was his reality.
Yeah.
And that space is what I desire as the seeker. And yet I feel there, in those moments, you have that awareness that that space alone is. And yet then inevitably the mind comes back and sort of trumps the like awareness of the space. And it's like this kind of, I keep calling it a dance because it does feel like or like an oscillation of like.
And it doesn't matter because you have a word to describe that. You call it the nature, the human nature. That is what it will do. I think the blessing we received was when you do meet a realized being, it's the confirmation that it's possible. And then anyone who meets you can hear the words, I met someone where I realized it is possible, an actual state where it's final, where it's forever meditation. And then if that free being wants to continue with the yoga, the reading, the studying, the talking, the teaching, the non-teaching, the hours and hours of meditation, being active, whatever then from that realization and the true state of freedom, whatever you would want to create, the creation will reflect like a very obvious, in a very obvious way. Freedom alone is because the basis from which now everything is lived, eyes open, eyes closed, every single moment is that self-realized state. And it doesn't matter once you know, yes, there is a sun unchanging that shines forever. If a cloud comes, it comes. We blow it away and it will go away. The rain will come, the storm will come, perfect blue sky will be. Your attention will keep reverting back to the knowledge of an unchanging light or sun.
So it also feels like when one moves towards this knowledge, this truth, it's almost like the opposite of the human mind that wants to sort of say, like, I'm here working towards freedom, but actually it's starting with freedom alone is, and then whatever comes out of that, which it's a different way of relating or being, because the human being always starts with me as this person going outward. But it's
That's
like
right.
if we start with freedom and that space, then whatever comes out of that space is also freedom or pure consciousness, even going back to what we said before. But I have like a deeper question, and I don't know, like maybe you could say it's advanced or like developed thought, but I'm just trying to like articulate my thoughts now because I really want to ask you this because I know you're so good at like explaining the knowledge in a clear way. That space that we experience in meditation, or that space that we see the realized being existing in, it's often like spoken of, like even the mantra, which I know the listeners have heard, Amaram, that space of immortality, or that space of indestructibility that even Krishna speaks about to Arjun. Like how can we meditate on that space or understand that space of unborn, unchanging, undying as the seeker?
You cannot understand it.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Then I don't have much. Then that's a good answer. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. And that's why when I said moments that we love, you accept every moment, you accept every meditation. Every meditation is perfect in itself, regardless of what happens. But um, when finally the waves of the mind, and you're not forcing it, we repeat, that's a message we're communicating today. You're letting the waves of the mind settle by themselves. When the wave of the mind settle, there is no need for understanding. The experience is direct.
Mm,
And having said direct experience, we remain alert not to create I as a subject who is now experiencing something.
hmm,
We let even the I as a subject be dissolved. And understanding has its place, it has its importance. You began the power of the Jigyasu, the one who wishes to understand. So we'll never want to take, having said there, we don't need to understand, you don't take the whole seeking part of our sadhana or our practice away. But at one point, sometimes there could be a friend that with all their inspiration could have a question after a question after a question. And now, if you follow it closely, your question should be like an arrow. You're pulling it back, pulling it back, pulling it back. It has a purpose. The purpose is your eye fixed on the target, bullseye, to hit the center exactly where you wish the arrow to go. Questioning and wish to understand, which still means movement in your
mm-hmm.
consciousness, has its place, but like the arrow, once it's stretched, and you let the arrow go.
Then it arrives in the answered state.
Yeah.
But can we hold these, like in one sense, one wants to understand, which inspires the
Yeah.
inquiry. And on the other hand, we have that awareness that the mind can never like know itself. Like the light of the self is shining and the mind is receiving its power through that light of the self. So the mind in that way, like it can't understand itself. So I have that awareness. And at the same time, there is the desire to understand. Is that just like two things are happening as if at once?
Yes, and two beautiful words to describe. Your description is very clear, very right on. You have the gyan, so the wish to understand, and the dhyan, the meditation where you realize the mind will not and does not have to understand what's really happening when you're meditating. Um, when we were very young, there was a program on television, and it came back. It was a French channel, so I'm not sure if the little comic character or animated little fellow existed in English also. In French, his name was Gumby.
Yeah, we had Gumby.
You had
He
Gumby,
was
huh?
green
He
or
was
red.
green, and he was like made out of rubber. And my favorite part as a young person looking at this program was at the end, after we watched the animated thought that was presented, he would take an eraser and he was erasing himself. And at the end, and so at the end, he's erasing, and he's gone. So the actual meditation, you are letting yourself, in a sense, be kind of erased, but not in a negative way, as if you don't exist. You erase all of the human conditioning and the part that possibly still is dividing or unsatisfied or peaceless, however we would want to describe ourselves on that day. You let that be erased. The meditation is doing that. Therefore, once it's the final stroke, there's no more form. There's no need for understanding. Then suddenly the program begins. A pencil would arrive on the paper, and they would draw Gumby again. And you reappear. So your eyes open, you will reappear. Where is the importance of understanding? What is the importance of gyan, which it means knowledge in our practice? The importance of knowledge is for you to keep understanding the life that's happening around you, how life is unfolding within you. How do you deal with people? Gyan is very, very important.
And practical. So
Yes.
So I'm really loving this conversation. I'm getting so much like good sort of confirmation in one ways, but inspiration in other ways. Because it's like, if I'm thinking about that great Gumby example, like how highly aware were those artists,
Yes.
and also you for remembering that even as a young person. But like when we use the practice of meditation, I'm just going to keep with this analogy because it actually makes sense too, as if, the supportive practices, like you said before, whether we're practicing mantra or we're doing pranayams or whatever to create that sattvic environment where the erasing maybe is a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And then we're there absorbed in the space of that knowledge, that awareness. And then is it like we open our eyes and we go through the world? And I mean, I guess I keep sort of repeating this question because I'm at that age where I have to work and I have to be in the world and creating things and doing things, but rather letting the space reveal the action rather than this Bobby that has to think and do and create. Because I feel like there's so much emphasis put on how and what one does in the world, but yet I feel the freedom to move in the world comes from being established in that yog space. If we go back to our word yog, and from there action takes place, and when acting from that space, it feels more free and joyful and easy. And that's sort of like how we are yogis in the world.
Yes. Very, very beautiful description.
Okay, it wasn't really a question, but it was kind of like
It was,
I answered my own
yes,
question.
absolutely. And how important for every friend of yours or those who get to meet you and question, people are active in life, and demands of students, parents, workers, co-workers, all the human roles that demand of a human being a lot. And now how? Because if you think of yoga, ultimately, let's add one definition to yoga, you can't, it's like puranam, perfection. You can't take anything away from yoga. It means balance. If something's really balanced, that's it. I can't make it tip left and I can't make it tip right. I'm talking about a state that would be like a complete evenness. Yoga is a state of complete evenness. If it's truly even, it can't be disturbed. So again, how can a yogi walk in life amidst the fast moving world? He will have to develop the skill that let me do action is action. Does it disturb? The answer is yes, often. Not always, but the very feel of action is kind of as if tilting your balance, sometimes on the left, sometimes on the right. And if you're a genuine seeker, you are truly looking for that balanced state. So you'll have to figure out in your day all the tricks. And a yogi can have a pack sack of tricks. That's for sure. If you hang out with Bobby, she has all the tricks.
I call it a yogic tool belt.
Very good.
What do I need? What do I need?
Very good, because you do need all those helps when you perfectly said it, the world, which I like to call the waking state of human consciousness, is designed to pull you outward and outward only. And then finally, every human being on earth, when nighttime comes, their head is put on a pillow and they are given the luxury of dissolving. So before, when we spoke in terms of Gyan, which is the understanding, and Dhyan, which is the meditation, sometimes at the beginning we have to let a beginner meditator know, think about every time you fall asleep at night, your head on your pillow, you receive a peaceful rest. The meditation will bring a conscious, peaceful rest, but you do have that experience. And sometimes I think of how many are we now? 8 billion point
I think 8.4,
four,
crazy like that.
all sleep at one point in their day. And therefore, even if some nights can be less easy for certain human beings, everyone falls asleep. So you have the experience of what we can call now your true nature. The whole purpose of our talk or meeting together, and I know when you talk to your friends, is because there are beings that want to speak about their true nature. They want to meditate on their true nature. They want to find a way to live life that disturbs the least who you truly are. The world will ask you to be only Bobby, and you know that you are God's glory, Garima.
Yeah, like back to the word that you said, like how you beautifully explained balance. And I thought, yeah, like how the human being seeks balance in the waking state, as you said. And I remember once Swamiji said something like, true balance only exists on the level of the space.
Yeah.
Something like that, I'm paraphrasing. But how, like, the yogi is, if we go towards true balance, which is in that experience of our true nature, then even while life is unbalanced, because that's its nature, that's prakriti,
Yep.
coming and going, and the whole rigmarole.
Yes.
But if the yogi knows, if the sadhak knows that the balance is there in the space of the knower, then even when things are unbalanced with eyes open, there's still an awareness of balance or peace or rest or whatever word we put on it there as well.
Yes.
And it's like, that's, back to like Yog Chit Vritti Nirodha. It's like, that's the yog and the Nirodha, like sort of holding us, me, up,
Yes.
like to manage being with the eyes open in the waking state.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And it's always, always there. I like to call it like an eternal present friend. It goes everywhere with you. It's with you throughout the waking state, when you fall asleep and you dream, the 3 states of consciousness. It's there when you're it's your eternal friend. And when you have a sense as if you totally got involved, possibly in the moment, in a situation, your friend is kind of like tapping you on the shoulder, waiting for you, like, hello, I'm still here. And we are mentioning, yes, with the maturity of a practice, as if you never let that friend ever go. And then if he taps on your shoulder because it's necessary to kind of bring the attention back, there's a speed in which you can come always back to the field of awareness, which is the field that you always want to live in and with.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That actually made me think. I think it was someone had sent me like a video or a article about this test that these scientists did on these Buddhist meditators, and they put those things on the heads
Yes.
of a meditator, and they saw that actually the ones who meditated next to the ones who didn't meditate, like the waves and fluctuations still happen, but like you said, it was their return to the balanced state was much quicker than the ones who didn't meditate. They were more swinging on the pendulum or up and down. And I thought that was so interesting. And also how you said it, why the continued practice of meditation is so important spiritually, but also practically, because it does help with the fluctuations and they still happen, but less intense.
Yes. And I think in the modern days, they have done and will continue to do more and more experiences on whether it be monks or meditators in universities, all kinds of studies. I haven't read much about them, but enough to know the meditative state is being recognized as something special. For many, now we know the word yoga, the word meditation is, whenever you speak about it, everybody somehow in their lifetime has come in contact,
Mm.
most likely, with these topics. When you described the machine on the heads of the monks, what came in my head is the scientists will want to measure because that's his field. So he will use whatever
Mm.
are his instruments to make an analysis and to bring about an understanding. This is how they understand that there is less movement in the thinking of someone who meditates. The meditator, what he knows is that no machine on earth could ever register what actually happens on the level of pure consciousness. Because when we say, and you with strength said awareness, and I know you know what awareness is. If I say pure consciousness, we're just using words. We are speaking about something that has now nothing to do with the activities of a lifetime, all activities of human beings, all movement in the world has nothing to do with a physical body sitting in a chair meditating. When you say consciousness pure, you have now dared to step out of the realm that we call waking state, which means where all human beings live naturally.
Mm.
No fault, no negativity, all perfect. But you have stepped out, you have dared to explore the realm of pure consciousness. That's a whole other field in itself. That's why those who will meet you will think, I want what Bobby has.
I don't know about that.
Yes. She has touched something, and you will, it is yours forever.
Mm.
When you have met the realized one who took you out of the waking state, doesn't matter what happens after that. That experience lives in you forever. You actually came on earth for that. You incarnate to come and know your true nature.
Mm.
We love to use the word unborn. What a great saying. You're born to realize that you're unborn. Unborn is synonym of awareness. Unborn is synonym of pure consciousness. But they are true states.
Mm. And states that are experienced by the meditator. I love when it's like, okay, here's the knowledge, here's the wisdom, here it is. But we, through our inquiry, through our practice, through our devotion and love, get the I don't want to say excitement, but the inspiration to experience it not only that one time through meeting Guru or through having that direct experience, but like again and again and again. So it makes the practice so fresh.
Because it's your true nature. And
Mm.
every day it's going to look at me now
Yeah,
today,
like
like
on the
this.
shoulder. I like
Yes,
that.
yes. Every day fresh, every day. So sometimes someone can ask, still meditating? And you're going, why not? Why would I not? When every single day, when I think about it, like, of course there can be a similarity, but you asked me the question, has every one of your meditation been different? Yes. The answer is yes. So for 50 years times 365 days, every sitting is different.
Mm.
So you, an explorer of life, what a great exploration. What a great journey to embark, to examine now. Now what? Now what will life bring to me today?
I love that. Now what? Even one other quote I remember, in the story of your life, leave one page blank and see what God writes for you.
Yeah.
That's like, I just love that of like, now what? But also having the awareness that it's all happening just so I can come back, like you said, to the purpose of our lives, to meet myself as my true self. And that feels like such a good place to put a little bow on this beautiful conversation. But I have one last question I like to ask at the end of the discussion. At this point in your sadhana, what are you still curious about? 50 years in.
Very, very nice question. I'm trying to think if curious. Yes, I am still curious in relation to a long life of meditation. Is just a continual. You love one thing that meditation brings in our life is the power of watching. And we won't get into the full Sakshi, the watcher. I will simply say an amazing, beautiful power of watching, not as a mind, watching as the knower. At one point you mentioned. So there's just it's not a wish because it's happening. Let me keep watching. So as if the curiosity, sometimes with the word comes, there's still something that's missing. So I will use the word, I am enjoying the full watching because there's no longer something missing. There's just a continuation of the absorption in the state that I love. So the continual watching.
Beautiful. Such a master, Chaitan. I really so appreciate you so, so much. I feel so blessed at this point in my life, in my own journey, to be surrounded by so many brilliant and wise friends like yourself, who you just are so skilled and experienced at having that own experience for yourself, but also being able to articulate it for people like myself who love to hear the knowledge from like any which way. And it's so beautiful. I know the friends listening will really appreciate your knowledge and expression as well. So thank you so much.
It was a pleasure to sit beside my own self.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed what you heard, please consider supporting the show at patreon.com/acuriousYogiPodcast. And please leave a review. It really helps the show reach more people. Let's stay curious, connected, and keep walking the path together. In total delight, this is Bobby signing off until next time.